Hi, welcome to the latest edition of Ragic Office Hour, and let's get started by doing a recap on our latest updated feature. So today's feature, we're gonna take a look at our AI data entry function. So as I think we've mentioned our AI data entry function before, and you were able to upload like PDF files, Word documents, or Excel files to for data entry, so that you can enter a new record on the sheet that you are on using this data entry by uploading a document. So today so recently we've introduced another way that you could even more which gives you a lot more flexibility on how to create a new record by asking AI, is that you could also have a screenshot of the record, or you have an image of the record. So sometimes you'll get PDF files that they don't contain any actual text in it. It's processed as an image. So if you have an image of the record that you're gonna create a record with, like something like a handwritten invoice receipt. So these kind of images are sometimes pretty hard to process, and you have to enter them manually into the system. But with AI, we will be able to at least identify a large portion of the record and create a new record for you based on the image. So let me do a quick demo. So let's say we're going to create a record for locations in the inventory management based on this record, and we're going to give it a fairly simple task. So I'll create an image of this record based on what I have on the computer. So I save the screenshot of this record, and I'll call up our Ragic AI feature and click on data entry and choose the screenshot that I just took. So of course this is like a perfect environment for the system to extract the text from the image file and map it to the exact same form that it was designed for. So the result should be pretty good. So basically you can map everything that it extracts from the image to the sheet that you're entering to. So if the data on the image, if it's not that perfect, it's still gonna make the best effort to map all the text that it can extract from it using OCR and try to map it to the Ragic sheet that you're currently on. So it's gonna work more or less if the image is like not that clear or the fields are not that clearly mapped. So the AI will still try its best, using some of our LLM AI common sense to map the OCR extracted text to the form that you're on. So if you have some business processes that could take advantage of this kind of AI data smart entry, and you could feel free to try it out and to kind of have a feel of how good this could work for you, because in a lot of cases, you can only know after you try it out. So you might think that, oh, this might not work because this is handwritten or the format's a little bit different, but AI can sometimes surprise you. So you have to test it out to see that if this really works for you or not. All right, so let's get back to the questions. Okay, first question, how to prioritize lines in subtables? Imagine that I have a few lines in subtable. How can I move the line on the bottom to top? For Ragic, it can be done. It's just a little bit not that intuitive, like you just drag and drop them, because it's still very database. We have a very database approach to this. So basically what you do is that you just add an extra field for the sequencing. You could say that the first line is 100, 200, 300, and you could, if you want, and you sort the subtable using that sequence field. So if you want to move the last line, which may be 300, to the first line, you could change the sequence of that field to like 50. So it's ordered before the first line, it's 100. So it's going to move to the top. So by changing the numbers, you will be able to change the subtable rows of how they're sorted. Let me give you a quick sample. Let me find one with a subtable. So this should have a subtable. So basically what you do is add a field like this, and you will be able to sort from smallest to largest, or from largest to smallest, and you can change the numbers here to change how it is, how the rows of the subtable are ordered. And by default, if you don't really need to change the sequence a lot, it's still going to work pretty well, because these sequence numbers are generally auto-generated, so you don't have to worry about them if they are in order. And you only need to change the sequence numbers if you are really inserting certain records at a very specific location that you want them to be. So adding a sequence field could help, and you could just sort them on the subtables. Okay, the easiest way to do this is to add a sequence field to the subtable, preferably auto-generate the sequence. And you will be able to sort the subtable by the sequence field, and then move subtable rows to desired location by changing the sequence numbers. Okay. I hope this is clear. And of course, in the future, we are considering adding these kind of drag and drop approaches, and basically we will be creating these hidden sequence number fields for you. But right now, because there's a pretty clear workaround for this, although it's a little bit manual, but since there's a workaround, and so the drag and drop reordering of the subtable fields has not been too high on our to-do list for subtables, and it could be quite a lot of work, because we need to auto-generate these sequence fields for all the subtables. So what we suggest is that we use this workaround for now. Okay, next question. Can I convert record to different Ragic database? Right now, without any coding, probably not. You can probably do this with like Zapier or IFTTT or Make.com. And if you have these kind of integrations, because you can sync from one Ragic sheet to another. So you could do that with an external integration platform like Zapier, but between different Ragic databases, right now, no. But we do have plans to support that in the near future. So we are talking about doing this right now, and because we're seeing more and more requests for this kind of function as people are using more and more Ragic databases. So currently, you cannot use the standard convert record function to convert record to another sheet on a different Ragic database account. but we are in the process of supporting this in future releases. For now, you can try using like make.com/zapier/fttt or by calling Ragic's HTTP API code to convert a record from one database sheet to another. Okay, so these are the alternative workarounds for now. But we do hear that we're getting more and more of this, request. All right. Okay, next question. Can an update values on another sheet have the option to only run on initial creation? Okay, so you want to update values on another sheet, but only run on initial creation? Do we support, yeah, automatically run when saving, but you only want to automatically run when on initial creation? Because technically we could support that, but if you're doing something like updating an item balance of your inventory, if you only run on initial creation and don't run afterwards, I think that would mess up your inventory numbers, because it's not hard to support that, but right now we don't see any reason that it should be supported, because if that's turned on, it seems like it's gonna mess up the numbers if you of the target sheet if you save it to a different value the next time. So right now, no, it's not supported, and we don't really have a reasonable use case of needing to support the options to only run it on initial creation, like for automatically run when saving, for update values on another sheet. So right now, yeah, and send custom email if it only run on initial creation. That makes sense, because I might want only to send this email on the first try, but later on I'm just editing minor details, and I don't want the receiver to be bothered by these detail changes, small trivial changes. But for update value on another sheet, if I feel that we should run it every time if automatically run when saving is turned on. So is this feature that could easily be added? Yeah, it could be easily added, but it just doesn't make sense for us right now. We don't see the use case for that. At the moment, we're using a workaround for this by including rules for update values. For example, we use system-generated approval rules, which must match field on another sheet which has a default value as never changed, i.e. n. Right, but what we're curious is, like, why do you need this? And perhaps there's a more reasonable solution that we could implement to help you with this. Because this is not very hard to add, but we generally need very reasonable use cases or general applications for this feature, so that we could develop it into our standard configurations. So okay, so yes, it's true that only run on initial entry creation is not supported for update value on another sheet. However, even though the implementation should be fairly simple, we are not sure of the use case for update value on another sheet to support only run on initial entry creation. It seems like it would mess up the target sheet field values if subsequent updates are not reflected on the target sheet. Be helpful if you're able to provide a bit more user story use case for this configuration option for our team to design an appropriate configuration. Yeah, I hope hope we can have a bit more detail, because most of the features we need to kind of understand, like the use cases behind them. So it's just something that we always do with every single feature that we introduce on Ragic. Like no matter how small the option is, we always go through this process of understanding what problem it's trying to solve and what real use cases that this configuration will be for. Okay. All right, and thank you for your questions, and that's it for our Ragic Office Hour webinar for today. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to use the Office Hour question sheet to ask your questions, and I will be talking to you in 2 weeks to answer your questions. Thank you and goodbye.